and gentlemen, boys and girls from all around the world, I am so excited. You probably already know who I got on this episode. You read the copy and you saw the thumbnail. That's right. It's been a long time coming. This lady has introduced me, believe it or not, to the great Bob Proctor back in 2015. She has showed me, and I will forever live with these acronyms of TFAR: thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. She has impacted my life so much that drive to Baltimore back in 2015, that was 3.5 hours going in and 7.5 hours going back because it was a snow blizzard, was absolutely worth it. She is an innovator. She is an entrepreneur. She is a super mom. She's a hero to many individuals. She impacted the world, traveled the world, and built businesses all over the world. And I am so excited for you and I to get as many golden nuggets out of her. So many golden nuggets that McDonald's is going to have to sue us for all the knowledge and wisdom. Her story is fascinating, and she's an inspirational woman. She's a woman who puts the true God, family, and business. She's a speaker. She is an innovator, and I could not say enough about her greatness. And today, I am privileged to have her in here. If this is your very first time listening to our show, my name is Ali Madawi. I go by your strategic partner. And this is the ME Show, where we help struggling entrepreneurs to leverage social media and the digital space to create brand equity and revenue. And ladies and gentlemen, give a whole lot of love. And if you are not driving, you can go ahead and clap for the one and only, the greatest of them all, Michelle Barnes. Let's go, let's go, let's go. All right, rock star. For those who may be hiding and living under a rock, do me a solid. Tell us a little bit about your background, where it has all begun. I know you look like you graduated college 4.5 years ago, but tell us that story, please.
Oh, just you stop that some more. I love it. Gosh, Ollie, I'm so excited to be here. You're right. It's been a long time coming, and I really believe timing is everything. And I could not be more excited. I could not be more excited than to be here today. I love and respect you so much, and I learn from you, and I love being able to pick your brain, and just being here with you today is such a blessing and such an honor. So thank you for having me. I appreciate
You are too far. Do me a solid.
it. All right.
You and entrepreneurship, that's a definite established story. We don't have to brag anymore about that. But a lot of people, they see the shiny object, but don't understand the journey and many obstacles that have happened in order for you to make it. So give us a little bit about where this relationship with entrepreneurship started, how it started. Give us that story that no one really knows unless they really, really get to know you.
Okay, how fun. Well, how far do we want to go back? No.
Well, however back you think is relevant to the conversation.
Well, I will say that I do think that I had that entrepreneurial spirit since birth. I remember even being like, 4 and 5 years old and having a lemonade stand, and my mom still gives me a hard time to this day because I had the lemonade stand and it said 5 cents a cup, and that was taking too long, I thought. So I changed the cents sign. I scribbled it out and I put a dollar sign in front of the five. And I sold 1 cup of lemonade to this sweet old man down the street that loved me. And I packed up my lemonade stand and went inside because $5 to me was like a gazillion dollars. So, so my mom was like, "You are going to go give him that money back." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not." Like, he bought the lemonade. I sold the lemonade. He got the lemonade. Like,
The transaction is final.
absolutely. So anyway, and that transitioned even from 4 or 5 to like all kinds of things when I was younger. Making and selling soap. My mom was a single mom, and so she worked nights, 10 at night till 7 in the morning. And so she would try to get some sleep during the day. And I was an only child for 15 years until my siblings were born and my mom remarried. And so I would, just create things and do things. And I always had like make believe businesses and stuff like that. And I made, remember those little balls of soap that people would put in their bathrooms that were like blue, and they were decorative and they like matched the bathroom. So I like figured out how to make those at home while my mom was sleeping. So then I started selling those. Just crazy stuff. But let's get to the real story. What happened was I didn't think growing up that I was really going to be an entrepreneur. I always had that spirit for sure. But I think especially our generation, I think that kind of got sucked out of any of us who had that entrepreneurial spirit because we were told to go to school, get good grades, college, that you had to go to college if you wanted to be successful. And I wanted to be quote unquote successful. So I was the first person in my family to go to college. I'm from Colorado. I live in Colorado right now. I went to CU Boulder. Go Buffs, go Coach Prime. And so I went to CU, got a sociology criminology degree. I had no idea why. I didn't know what I really wanted to be when I grew up, but I did know at the time I'd wanted to be an attorney since I was like maybe 13, 14 years old was when I got that idea that, I'm going to be an attorney. And so I was, sociology criminology. I was going to be a criminal, basically like a child advocacy. I was going to go into criminal law. And so went to, put myself through college because, again, my mom was a single mom. At this time, she had 4 kids and was a sole provider of all of us. And so I, waited tables and bartended to put myself through school. I waited tables since I was 14 at a little teeny hole in the wall Mexican restaurant in Southwest Denver in the hood. And so I've been working like a legit job since I was 14 years old. That was my first real job, was at the restaurant, and put myself through college. And then I went to law school out in LA, went to a private school out in LA that was $30,000 a year. And like back then, this is like 30 years ago. And, in my first year of law school, I actually sold books door to door this summer before law school to try to make as much money as I could because they wouldn't allow you to work. You weren't allowed to have a job your first year of law school. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't have a job? Like,
How am I going to pay for this?
yeah, it was like freaking me out because I'm like, I needed just money even for gas and to eat. And so I did keep, doing personal training in the mornings and teaching classes because I figured would never know that I was like working. That was like it's like getting paid to work out. And so I did do that, but I couldn't work. So I sold books door to door the summer before, 80 hours a week, made $9,000 in 8 weeks. And that was what I used to kind of, support myself for that first year of law school. But long story short, when I was in law school, I'm telling you, Ollie, there was just this feeling. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners have maybe felt that way, or maybe you feel that way now, where you're just like, gosh, man, I thought this is what I wanted. I thought this is what I wanted to do. But now I kind of feel like I almost felt like my entire internal GPS was like, you're going the wrong way. And even though I loved what I was learning, I was interning with 3 attorneys in LA, and they were the most miserable humans I think I've ever met in my life. And I was the only female in the law firm. And I was just an intern, but I was the only female in there. And these 3 guys, they were making $500,000 or more a year. So like me, I was like 22 thinking, man, if I was making $500,000 a year, I mean, I would be freaking jacked, right? I would be so freaking excited. I'd be like throwing money to the street people. I mean, to me, that was like, I couldn't even fathom making 5,000 a month. Never mind 500,000 a year, And, so I just started kind of just feeling like super bummed, and I couldn't figure out why. And I just, I was looking at these attorneys and they were miserable. And I thought, oh my God, that's going to be me in 20 years. And then I thought, I've known since birth that I wanted to be a mom. Like I've just known since birth that I wanted to be a mom, but I also have this crazy business woman inside of me, and so anything that I would do, I would want to be all in. Right. And so I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to, if that's me in 20 years, like these guys, they were all married, but they had wives they never saw, kids they never saw, boats and toys that they never got to play with. Beautiful.
Yeah, all they had is money, but broke in every other area of their lives, essentially. Yeah.
And I just, that scared the crap out of me, honestly. And I thought, I don't think I can do this. And I don't want to spend another, $100,000 just to have a law degree, just to realize that I don't want to be an attorney. And I just remember calling my mom because she's like my best friend in the entire world. I call her just bawling. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I want to do this. And she was like, well, just come home, in between your first year and second year, don't make a decision yet. Come back to Colorado for the summer, maybe try to find another job, see what else is out there. I came back. My dad was a marketing director for a little weekly newspaper selling advertising. So he's like, why don't you come learn how to do that? So I was doing that. But that was also when I answered an ad in the paper. And at the time it was for a network marketing company. And the ad said, sports minded. And it said 3 to 6,000 a month. And I was like, well, dang, I played sports, have a mind, qualified. It was about the logic that went into that one. And I was like, 3 to 6,000 a month. Oh my gosh, I could do marketing, I could learn anything. Walked in, saw products in the corner, almost turned around and walked out. Because I was like, you got to be kidding me. I thought it was like Amway or Mary Kay. Those are the only two that I knew of at the time at 23 years old. And so I was like, dude, this is not what I'm looking for. Like, I need a real job. Like, I don't want to sell water filters and vitamins. Are you out of your
Yeah.
mind? And luckily, the guy was super cool that I met with. And we had spent 45 minutes on the phone together and just totally hit it off, which was kind of that was one of the first lessons of like building rapport.
Being likable, right?
Yes, being
Yeah.
likable. And I thought I was selling myself. I was like, oh, I definitely got this job because I was like telling him all about how great I was. And so even though I had like no experience and no job and no anything, well, anyway, long story short, I sat through the presentation and I thought, what do I have to lose? If I could make an extra 500 to $1,000 a month, kind of start chiseling away at this $80,000 mound of debt that I'd created, like, why not? And, the rest is kind of history. I got started in that business thinking it would just be kind of a part-time gig. I was still waiting tables and bartending. I was still interning for the attorneys. I was, a personal trainer, but, I went to a 3-day seminar, and that was when God was like, it was like, I don't even know what happened at that event. It was a 3-day event, and I was sitting in the seats and I was listening to these women up on stage and men, but there was some women up there and a single mom in particular that I was like, oh my gosh. She was beautiful, she was humble, she was strong, she was confident. And I thought, and the impact that those people had on my life at that first 3-day event, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I knew that I wanted to do that the rest of my life.
I do have to ask, because it's, first of all, fascinating, because to go as far and as deep as $80,000 of student debt, and to walk away just with this core value of, I don't see myself being there in the next 20 years of my life, and identifying as an early age, that's definitely superpower, because many individuals don't realize what you realize until they are at the end of that 20 years to say, I don't like where my life is going. And it becomes this too late for me to restart kind of a mindset, even if it's really not. But God bless you for having that mindset. The other thing that is fascinating to me, like, I met the already established superhero businesswoman that you are and speaker that you are. So to hear the skeptical version of you, it's almost like, it's funny to me to even hear.
Yeah.
And yes, being likable makes a difference. But talk to me about, because we talk about in business in general, you have your start date and then you have your real serious commitment. What was the moment that, I know it was the women that inspired you and you said, this is what I want to do, but what was that one moment where you said, enough is enough, I will transform myself to michellebarnes.com wink that you have right now, right? Like, when did that transition happen that you've committed, this is what I'm going to do as a profession, as a career, that I'm going to be a business operator and an entrepreneur, versus what it was a side gig, what was emotion, what was hope, and then eventually it morphed into where you are today?
Gosh, that's a great question. I would have to say it was that event. And I came out of there so inspired, and I came out of that event and I was like, oh my gosh, this is my ticket.
Yeah.
I was so sick and tired, Ollie, I was so sick and tired of money always being an issue. Like I said, my mom had me at 18, divorced by the time I was 9 months old. And so I remember even when I was 4 years old and she was 22, I remember her sitting there just bawling her eyes out, not knowing how she was going to keep a roof over our head. We didn't even have furniture when I was little. That's a whole nother story that maybe we'll get to. But, I I mean, we had nothing. And, and we'd drive around and look at beautiful homes and my mom would see like a Jag and she'd be like, oh, one of these days, I'm going to have a Jaguar. And I was like, I'll buy it for you, mom, like as a 4 or 5 year old. And I just remember thinking my whole life, like, I want to be successful. Like, I'm so sick and tired of being broke. I'm so sick and tired. I will say I was broke, but I was never poor. We didn't have anything, but I think poor is eternal. I think broke is temporary.
Take
Um,
notes, y'all. Take notes.
and I just, but when I came out of that event, I was like, oh my gosh, like I met people that were, had similar, like one of my mentors, she went to college, she went to law school, she dropped out of law school, she was waiting tables and bartending, but she had been in the business a couple years and she was making like 40,000 a month. And I was just like, oh my gosh. When I found out when she said she made $40,000, I was like, that's what you made last year? And she's like, no, stupid. That's what I made last month.
Last month.
Like, and it's like my whole paradigm shifted. And I didn't know what a paradigm was then, but looking back, I'm like, that was a huge paradigm shift for me because I didn't even know I didn't even know people could make 40,000 in a month. Like, I didn't even know that was possible. How can you ever do something if you don't have the awareness, level to know that that's even possible?
Yeah.
And so, then there were people there was a guy that was a tire guy. He never even went to college. His
I,
English,
I've met so many of those stories. It's like
my
if
gosh.
you're out of jail or out of Yale, you can be successful, right? Usually I'm like, well, let's just skip the jail part, but I got you. We don't judge. I'm intrigued though in one piece that how were you able to separate? You talk about the paradigm shift. How were you able to separate the circumstance from the identity before you've discovered what paradigm is and before you kind of embedded yourself in personal growth? Because sometimes it's very hard to separate. You talk about tired of being broke. Many people just see that as their identity, like I am broke. No, you're not broke. Your bank account is, your circumstance is. So how, if you look back at who you were since a young age, it seems like you had enough awareness to know what you wanted, and what you were living was not who you were. So maybe I'm complicating the conversation, but you help me understand, how were you able to figure that out at an early age?
You know, I will say that I think a lot of it came from even meeting one of my first mentors. I mean, we had similar backgrounds. And so, like I said, and she was making 40,000 a month, but like she just radiated this confidence and she was funny. She had energy for days. I mean, they knew I came to my first meeting on a Tuesday and they were like, you have to come back and meet this woman the next day. And come see this woman do a training. Like, you remind me so much of her. You guys both went to college and law school. You both bartended, waited tables, this and that. You both played sports in school. Like, she's killing it. She's making 30, 40,000 a month. You got to come see this woman speak. And when I came back that next night, he walked in.
Yeah, we gotta give it some love, because that is a major, major, major kudos, by the way. We all, at some point, shape, or form, capacity, have had somebody in our lives that's seen in us what we didn't see in ourselves, and it seems that that was the person that you needed to meet in order to activate the greatness within.
Yeah, and you know what? She really did too, and she believed in me way before I ever believed in myself. And she fed that. She was just, I mean, I still to this day, I remember her saying things like, you're going to be an effing legend in
There
this.
you go. Yeah,
And obviously she used the real word, but and
yeah.
so
Food.
totally. And so she just, I mean, she radiated confidence. Her energy was awesome. She was funny, everything. And I just kept, so that since I very first met her, she would instill these things in me. She'd be like, oh, everybody goes exec in their first 6 months. And I was like, oh, or well, first it was everybody goes director their first month. And I was like, oh, okay, what is that? So she told me what I needed to do. Like, you have to go do 20,000 in sales in your first month. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll go do it. Did 28,000 in volume in my first 30 days in the business and went director my first month. And then she was just like, oh, obviously this worked. So she's like, everyone goes exec in their first 6 months, which is like 100,000 in volume, 5 legs. I'm like, okay, That's what I'm going to do. So I went exec. And then it was like, she just kept doing that. And I didn't know any different because I thought everybody did that. I thought everybody was loaded. I thought everyone was successful when I guess most in the office at that point were broke and like living in apartments with 6 people and, like not making any money, but the whole fake it till you make it back then, which now I call faith it till you make it, because you do have to have faith. And I do believe that like one of the most probably impactful things I ever did was, and I still teach it to this day. I even taught it on a training last night, is to act as if. And even though I didn't know that I was putting myself in a vibration to attract better people and things into my life back then, when I was like, okay, act as if I were an elite right now, if I were making, 6 figures, if I was making 10,000 a month, how would I walk? How would I talk? How would I act? How would I, what would my posture be like? How would I answer someone's objections? What would my confidence look like? All those things. And I just really would be like, okay, that's what I got to do, and I didn't even realize that I was putting myself into an energetic vibration to really attract all the things that I was attracting by acting as if, by acting like I was already making 10,000 a month, because it wasn't. And then the imposter syndrome kicks in and stuff like that. Like, well, you're not making 10,000 a month. Don't be crazy, things like that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy.
But here's what I've learned, and you're talking to a kid who was homeless for 3 years in a third world country and came to America to say me no English, so I needed a little crazy in my life, right? Crazy people do crazy things and make a whole lot of crazy money along the way too, right? With the right core values.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, with the right core values. We're going to take a little bit of a commercial break. We got to pay some bills, otherwise they'll shut off our internet. But when we do come back, I'm going to dive into all things that you have operational right now, all the things you're passionate about right now, projects that are impacting the world right now. Ladies and gentlemen, she goes by Michelle Barnes. Many know her as Superwoman. And I'm your host, Ali Midawi. We'll be right back.
Meet Michelle Barnes, a beacon of empowerment, leadership, and inspiration. With over 29 years of experience, Michelle has transformed countless lives through her dynamic coaching and mentorship. Through specialized training, empowered coaching, and transformative workshops, Michelle equips you with the tools to conquer your goals. Join her 2025 Goal-Setting Masterclass and turn your dreams into actionable plans. Be part of a supportive community where your growth is celebrated. Ready to transform your life? Visit michellebarnes.com and embark on your journey to success.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are back with yours truly, Ali Midawi, with the ME Show, and we have the GOAT herself, Michelle Barnes. Man, first and foremost, I am so grateful because I knew your story, but I never knew the depth of how the greatness has been developing over the years. And I'm definitely excited that I get to hear it for the first time, like everybody else, to be honest with you. But now I want to dive into it now. Let's talk about some of the projects that you have going on right now. What is exciting and on fire and get you can't go to sleep and can't wait to wake up to work on. Talk to us about some of your projects that you're passionate about right now.
Yeah. Well, got a lot of exciting things happening right now. I have a main online social retail business that is just crushing. I love helping people. I've always had a passion for health and fitness and nutrition and wellness. So for me, it's all about transforming people's lives. I figure the way I look at it is without our health, we have nothing really. And so I love teaching people, if you want to have energy, you've got to, when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you do good.
Hey, you look like you hang out with Prime.
Right. And so, legit, it's I really want to help people realize no matter what age they are, because I just turned, the young age of 53 the other day.
Let's go. She's 27.
I know. I always say 29. Even my son put on one of the card he made me. He drew.
You know the power of that. So I learned this. You may not know him, Jimmy Zell. I'm not gonna say his biological age, but he taught me this, right? I've been working with him. We've been partnered up with many projects since 2019. And then every year we traveled a lot together. Every year on his birthday, I've never missed a birthday of his. We do these big parties. It says 50th birthday. And, the first time I was like, happy 50th. And then the following year, I'm like, I could have sworn last year he
Yeah.
turned 50. And Facebook memories come up. And then by the third year, I'm like, Jimmy, dude, like, what's up with this 50? He goes like, yeah, I'm freezing my age. I'm never going to be older than 50. I was like, what? And then I've come to find out he's let's just say a lot older than 50, and
Really.
every year. And he says, when you tell your body how old you are, your body is going to respond to how old you are. And I was like, man, I get it. We always teach it, but I never understood it in that
Yeah.
depth. So congratulations on 27.
29. I mean, I'll be
Let's
honest.
go.
My son even drew a cake on my birthday card that he made me, and at the top of the cake it said 29. I was like, I got him well. So, it's crazy because I tell people all the time, like, I feel better at 53 than I did at 33. And I really do think there are things that we can do every single day to stay younger in every way and stay healthy and all the things. And I love teaching people that stuff because I'm like a researcher. I'm such a nerd when it comes to things like that and how the brain works and how our subconscious works and health and nutrition and these supplements and things like that. So that'll always just be part of who I am. I love helping people transform their bodies, their confidence, their energy, all the things. So I'm doing that. So I'm helping people lose weight, feel great, all the things. And then I'm launching a lot of really cool stuff with my coaching and speaking business. This is the year I've done some pretty amazing book collabs that have, hit number one on the Amazon, number one.
Let's go.
Just super exciting. A social impact. It's a whole social media book. Social media is my jam. I love it. And then another one called Leading Ladies. But right now I'm working on my own. And so that is one of the goals of this year, and doing a lot with my coaching and speaking business and really branching out. Obviously, I got my start in network marketing, and I love network marketing. I love social retail. I love social media. I love helping people, make money online and all those things. But I'm like, okay, when I turned 50, I was like, okay, I've done this grind for, a good 20 some years. And now where I'm at in my life, I'm in such a place. I'm so happy and I'm so grateful for all the things that I've learned and been through, the good, the bad, the ugly, that have gotten me to where I am. And, I love Steve Jobs' quote, you can always connect the dots looking back, but never forward.
Yeah.
You just have to trust that those dots are going to connect somehow, somewhere, some way. And, and I'll tell you, in the last 5 years, there's been some stuff, some personal stuff that has made some of those years the hardest years of my entire life. And, we can maybe talk about that later, because I do think that a lot of times when people see someone like us, or that's been, an entrepreneur for 30 years and has had a lot of success, they just think that we like fell on the top of Success Mountain, and like, it's just always been that way. And there are so many ups and downs. And I really want people to know that every single thing happens for a reason and a purpose. And where I'm at right now, I'm just so excited to be able to kind of expand everything that I've been doing. And, I really, one of my goals is I want to be one of the top 50 motivational speakers in the world. So that is a goal. And, I would love for that to happen this year. And so that's one of the biggest goals. I've added some other, streams of income. I'm all about multiple sources and multiple streams of income. And diversifying. And I've been really educating myself in a lot of different areas financially to just enhance that as well. And so it's been fun just learning some new exciting things in the blockchain world and just some really cool stuff that I've been working on. And now, I think I was telling you the other day, I just, and you helped me a lot with this the other day, but I feel like if I could just learn how to clone myself, like, so one Michelle Barnes could be a mom. And because I am a single mom and the sole provider of two crazy, amazing, awesome teenage boys. My youngest just turned 14 last Monday. My oldest is 16, driving, and it's a whole nother Oprah. And so, if I could have one be the speaker and one be the social retail and one be the blockchain and one be the mom and one be with friends having fun and one being traveling and one maybe, finding some awesome, life partner,
Hey, she's single and ready to mingle, y'all. All right, we're gonna change the topic for the rest of this interview. We're gonna talk about, we're gonna turn it to the Bachelorette. This is what's about to
Right,
happen.
let's
Yeah,
go.
like we're about to put all the bio in place in here. No, that's phenomenal. No, first and foremost, congratulations to maintaining who you are. Because yeah, I do see that you have a few exciting things that are happening in the marketplace in multiple areas, but you've never compromised your true self, and that's the one thing I've met you physically 3 times. First time was in March of 2015, Baltimore, when I saw you speak for the very first time. The second time was June of 2015. That was in Phoenix, in a stage in front of 8,000 people, and you owned that sucker like there was no tomorrow. And then the third time was when we had the USA tour, where we did 27 cities in 2 weeks, and we stopped in Colorado to meet you real quick, which was amazing as well. So, and you've consistently been the same badass, same amazing human being, same positive, kind person. You say what's on your mind, and you say it with genuine kindness. And that is rare because, I think Steve Harvey said it. He said, you give a good person a lot of money, they become better people. You give a bad person or jerk a lot of money, they just become a total a-hole, right? So you've never compromised your core values. You stayed the same smiley, bubbly, happy, excited, human being, and that I'm grateful for that and forever will be. Can we dive into the public speaking side of things? Because I know that is one area that you shine. I've never seen you speak somewhere virtually or in person that you did not mesmerize the whole audience. It's almost as if you are a hypnotist where you give practical processes that make the person say, "Oh, I am not doing the right thing in my career." I mean, heck, I told you how you've impacted me with an acronym of TFAR since 2015. Let that sink in for a second. That was through you for the very first time. And I mean that I don't BS. Many people who know me, if I don't know you, I won't edify you and I would not introduce you. I tell people straight up, like, look, I don't know enough about you, but why don't you have somebody else introduce you and then we can have a conversation? Because it's got to be genuine and honest, right? Like, there's a lot of fluff and hype marketing out there. We're not that. So talk to me about your speaking. What is the area of focus that you're elaborating and growing within right now in 2025? Any specific topics, any specific processes, systems? Give us some insights.
Yeah, I'm so, my passion is passion. Okay. I mean, really,
Simply put.
my passion is passion. I love, when I see people literally change right in front of me when I'm speaking, there's no better feeling. And I mean, like, I had no idea that was something that you remembered from years ago,
Yeah.
there's so many things that we just, when we're speaking that have impacted my life. These are things that literally have created the success that I have in my life, is the things that I teach. And so I'm relentless with my mindset. And I love teaching people how to be relentless with their mindset. I love teaching people how to not just set goals, but how to get those goals. And for me, it's not about, like, you can go to, I mean, any seminar you go to, there's going to be a goal setting, workshop. Right. And so for me, over the last 27, I think this December was just my 27th year doing my goal setting master.
She's been doing this since she was 2 years old.
Exactly. 2-year-old prodigy in the goal setting world. And every year, like, my goal is to make it better and more impactful. And this year was a 3-hour masterclass, and people, can get that at michellebarnes.com. But to me, that is kind of my baby, but it also allows me to not only teach people, go through a goal setting process for people to figure out, like, what do you really, really want? There are things that, like, if I would not have been taught how to set goals and how to visualize and how to create vision boards and how to, make a decision that I am going to get this or do that or be, do, or have. I want people to really realize that they can be, do, or have anything they want in this life, And so I love entrepreneurship. That's my jam. I love teaching people, how to build their personal brand in an authentic way. I was building a brand, 20 some years ago before I knew what a brand was, even when I started on social media, 16 years ago, 17 years ago. I mean, I didn't know that I was building a brand because we didn't call it that back then, but I was building a brand by just being me. And by being consistent and by showing up consistently. So I love teaching people, okay, yes, goal setting is important, but even more important, what's holding you back from achieving those goals? And that digs deeper and peels layers into the whole mindset and the paradigm and our self-image. You'll never, ever outperform your self-image. And so that's something that I think we all, need to work on every single day. I mean, every day, because we do all have imposter syndrome, or sometimes we feel like we're not worthy, or we feel like we're not good enough, or we see people's highlight reels on social media and we think, oh, well, what am I going to do or say, or, that's going to, they're already doing it, but they're not doing it like you could do it. And that's one thing that even I had to go through is I was just like, what am I going to teach that isn't already out there being taught? And I had to really get out of my head with that to realize that even if some of the things are similar that are being taught, it's not being taught by me with my energy and my vibration and my words and who I am as a human being. And your vibe attracts your tribe. And I truly believe there's enough abundance to go around, So
I'm curious on one area that you spoke about. You've been building your brand for a while, just about being you. In today's marketplace, a lot of people confuse brand with a logo. They confuse brand with a mission statement. And while that's a puzzle of, showcasing your brand, if you could simplify it, what do you think represents a brand? Like if somebody's like, I'm trying to build my brand, you're like, well, step number one, identify what?
I mean, for me, I think it's identify, who are you? Like, who do I want to be? What do I want to be, do, and have? And that's one thing I love about the goal setting and doing goal setting for, almost 30 years now. I think that really helped me to realize what I want to be, more importantly, like what I want to do and what I want to have, like the material stuff. If you're rocking it, that's all going to come anyway. But really it was, who do I want to be, And so like right now, I just did this whole training last night talking about Michelle 2.0 and you 2.0. And I gave everybody, even when I spoke last weekend in Houston, Texas, I gave everybody a mission to figure out what is that 2.0 version of you going to be for 2025. And I made everybody pinky promise that we would all stop playing small. That's kind of my thing I love that quote. You're playing small is serving no one. And we're all playing small in reality. And it's all relative, right? I mean, new levels, new devils, everybody's at different places in their lives. But in reality, we're living at such a small amount of our potential. And I do believe we're God's highest form of creation. And I believe that we are born for greatness, but then we're kind of programmed for failure.
And that's usually mindset. Just mindset where you need to go to michellebarnes.com and you need to get a little bit of help and assistance. I know, again, many of you know me in my audience where we're all talking about like, man, Ali, you've done great things for yourself. Well, she started a whole lot of that for me. We're going to take another commercial break. And after we come back, we're going to dive into the visionary Michelle Barnes.
So excited.
Meet Michelle Barnes, a beacon of empowerment, leadership, and inspiration. With over 29 years of experience, Michelle has transformed countless lives through her dynamic coaching and mentorship. Through specialized training, empowered coaching, and transformative workshops, Michelle equips you with the tools to conquer your goals. Join her 2025 Goal Setting Masterclass and turn your dreams into actionable plans. Be part of a supportive community where your growth is celebrated. Ready to transform your life? Visit michellebarnes.com and embark on your journey to success.
Welcome back, you sexy beast. I hope that you're not driving and touching that cell phone because I care about you alive more than you are educated. But if you are still listening to us, we are hanging with the GOAT herself, Michelle Barnes from Colorado. Man, Coach Prime's got nothing on her because the knowledge and the wisdom that you're dropping on us right here is such a blessing. I want to dive into your vision of the future. And one of the things that I've learned from you, and I believe you're mastering on an ongoing basis, is the power of manifestation. And there's a lot of people, unfortunately, in the world who think, it's woo-woo, right? It's crazy. Like, all right, manifesting the law of attraction. I think about it and it comes to fruition. The simplest way that I always explain it to people is, okay, think about it like this. When you wake up, what is the first thing you think about? They're like, well, brushing my teeth, showering. I'm like, and then what? I'm like, I get up and I do it. I'm like, that is manifestation. You think about it and then you take action towards it and then it shall be done. If you have that very same automatic, which is the subconscious mind attitude towards everything in life, but you started it with such a positive way, your body automatically goes towards it. My son calls me out. So my son watches and listens to all my stuff. He's 7.5 years old. Shout out to you, Sebastian Ali Madawi. Yeah, he's amazing. Here's what he says. He's like, Papa, when am I going to get the big things that I'm thinking about, right? And the answer is the bigger to ask, the longer it's going to take. And all based on how consistent are you in the way that you think. Now, I know you can do a whole seminar about this, but I'm intrigued and curious on your process or your routine, if you will, to maintain a clean, positive thinking that would lead to those feelings, that would lead to the action, that would lead to the results. What do you do? Give me a day in the life of Michelle Barnes.
Okay. I'm pretty psychotic about my time and very intentional with my time. I'm kind of a spaz. I'm kind of all over the place. And so for me, I think it's something I learned from Tony Robbins probably 29 years ago at, what is this? Unleash the Power Within, the Firewalk event. I went to that when I was 24, I think. And that was life-changing for me because I learned so much about the power of our thoughts and taking action and massive action. And one of the biggest things was time blocking. So I still have the same system today that I did 29 years ago. I'm a little old school still in that way, where I have, a week at a glance calendar in front of me. I like to physically see it. I have my little crazy legal pad that has like my to-do list. I always make sure my to-do list is more people oriented than task oriented because I'm in a people business.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up book. I know who I need to follow up with, all the things, but I've also for probably a good, 25 plus year, probably 20, 25 years now, my morning routine and my evening routine are everything to me. And especially my morning routine, because how you start your day is how your day goes. And, you hear people talk about like, don't look at your phone for the first 30 minutes. And I agree with that because every time I look at my phone, I get sucked into everybody else's agenda instead of getting my mind right. And I always say, you got to have that checkup from the neck up, and I love starting my day. I start my day with gratitude. I start my day with prayer. And whatever your beliefs are, I think, whether you believe in God, Jesus, Buddha, Yoda, whatever, I think it's so important to tap into that higher spirit and ask to be led that day. And my spirituality has definitely evolved over the years. And, when you were talking about the whole manifestation and thoughts are things and your thoughts lead to your feelings, which lead to your actions, which lead to your results and energy and things like that. A lot of people, think it's kind of woo woo and there are pieces of it that are. And I think when people talk about the law of attraction, that was one thing that definitely was huge for me. Back in 2007 was the first time I watched The Secret with Bob Proctor. And that's when I fell in love with Bob and literally just started stalking him. Every single thing that he had ever written, read, wrote, formed, videos, anything I could get my hands on of Bob's. There was just something about him. And I think what really attracted me to him is he was just so calm and confident. And I'm such a spaz. So it's kind of fun to be in the presence of his energy like that. And I mean, that's one of my manifestation stories is from 2007. I would tell everybody, oh, oh, Bob, my best friend. Oh, Bob, my mentor. And then it ended up happening to where Bob ended up being my personal mentor and ended up being one of my best friends in the entire world. Just passed away probably 3 years ago.
2 years ago, just about. Tell us a little bit about that, because to have access on a personal or even a professional level to Bob Proctor is, I mean, it's rare for many people. Unless you're dropping multiple five figures for that interaction. Tell us a little bit about how was it, being in the presence of the likes of a Bob Proctor.
I always knew that it was a blessing. And the way that it happened was amazing. So I teach people when they write their goals to put them on blue index cards with blue ink. One of my very first mentors 29 years ago, said that blue on blue goes into your subconscious more. So when you're reading those blue index cards and you're reading your goals in the present tense, like I'm so happy and grateful now that, as if it already happened, so that you can get into that feeling of whatever that goal is. And then reading it on the blue index cards with blue ink is supposedly goes into your subconscious more. And so when I was younger, I was just like, I just bought into stuff like that. I was just like, okay, cool. I'm done and done. That guy had made 93 million personally that year. I was like, must be working for him. So he was also a maniac. So that's a whole nother story. But I always, like, from a very young age, I always say leadership is a buffet. Take what you want, leave what you don't. So I would, take things, I'd be like, ooh, I love that. Like, love that. I'm going to make that mine. And then there were things that some of these leaders did that I was like, ooh, like ick. Like that just gives me the ick. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. You can do that. You can say that, but I'm not going to, And so I do think that was, that kind of discernment was also a gift. Because I could have gone down some pretty bad roads with people being so young and being so easily influenced. But with Bob, I was on a plane ride. I was going to an event in San Diego in one of my companies, and I was speaking that weekend. And I was rereading his book, You Were Born Rich, for like the 87th time. And I was on the
I
plane.
watched his seminar so many times.
So good. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So I'm like reading the book on the plane, and I just lean over out of nowhere and I take out a new blue index card, because I always have them with me. They're all over everywhere. I mean, my kids use them. My kids do them
Yeah.
for their grades and stuff. But I leaned over and I wrote, I'm so happy and grateful that I got to spend quality personal time with Bob Proctor this weekend. And then I just tucked it away in the book and went on my way. And so I check into the hotel. Long story short, I go up to my room. I come down to go buy some water, because I always need like tons of water in my room. And who's right there in the lobby walking as I'm going, but Bob, and nobody's with him. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's Bob. I'm like, I need to talk to him. And what's so crazy, not crazy, amazing and awesome is that in 2007, when I watched The Secret, I went from making about 150,000 a year and I doubled my income that year. And there was something magical about this whole 333. And he has it. It's a story in You Were Born Rich. And so I did this little exercise in his book on how much is enough. And, I think sometimes I think we think in order to live like our dream life, we have to have like gazillions of dollars, right? And so I did this exercise and I filled out like what it would cost to have like what I thought was my dream life back then. And this is 17 years ago. And so I wrote it all out and I, was dreaming big, I thought. And it came out to, like, when I added up how much money I would need, it came out to $333,000 in a year.
Bang.
And I was like, oh,
333.
yeah. But I was like, I can do that. Like, I thought I would have to make like 3 million in a year to have that life.
Yeah. I think in the US, to be part of the 1% is $440,000 a year, and you are part of the 1%. Like, you don't got to be a millionaire. Just $440K a year puts you in the 1%.
It's so crazy to me, right? So anyway, just to wrap that up. So so then I was like, oh my gosh. So then that was my goal. And guess what that 1099 was? It was 333,000 for the next year. So I was telling Bob the story. And I was telling Bob that you're the reason why, The Secret, your books, You Were Born Rich. And so he's just listening to the story. And like, nobody else existed around us. And we just had the best conversation. We took a picture right there in the lobby together. And then we kind of ran into each other because we were both speaking at the event and a couple more times. And I was always just like, oh, I love you so much, And he's just probably like, this chick's a maniac. And so then there was an awards banquet or a dinner or something like that. And of course, his table's right next to mine, him and Linda Proctor. And I love his wife. She's amazing. And they were sitting right next to me. And so I got to introduce him to some of my people that were sitting at my table, which was such a dream come true for them too. And then he just leaned over and he's like, I need a piece of paper. And I was like, oh my God, well, sure, Bob, let me get let me get it for you. And he leans over and he's writing something and I don't even know what he's writing. And he hands it to me and he said, this is my cell phone. He said, I want you to call me. He's like, I think that you are going to do some really great things and I'd love to help you. And I was like, holy shit. And I'll be honest, I don't know how long it was before I actually called him, Ollie, but I was so scared to call him that it took a while. And I don't know.
Let me ask. So,
Yeah.
so on that note, what do you think out of all things, like everything in your story till this point was you had a vision and you acted on it. You had a vision, you acted on it. You knew what you wanted and you did it. You knew that you didn't want to be miserable in a law path and you pulled out of it immediately. Like you had that decisiveness. But what was different about Bob Proctor that it took you a while to take action on it right away? Because most people will be like, you got Bob Proctor's phone number, you better call him now, right? So what was different?
You know what? To be honest, and it sucks, but I look back now and I'm like, you know what? Thank God I realize this now and over the last, 10, 15 years it was total, like I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to bother him. Honestly, I thought he was just being nice. And, I thought, oh my gosh, if I call him, he's busy, he's this global speaker, his company, one of his goals was to have his company in every country in the entire world. And he did that. And I was like, like he has time for me, and I don't want to bother him. And then I just kept saying like, suck it up, like stop being such a wuss, and he wouldn't have given you as this mind thing, where I was like, he wouldn't have given you his number, his personal cell phone number, if he didn't really want you to call, and so I finally did. And he's like, what the hell took you so long?
That's crazy. And this is please, everybody that's listening or watching this, you need to take notes on this, because how many times I know for a fact, like I was given Damon John's phone number on a seminar from Shark Tank,
Oh,
FUBU.
I know who it is.
And he gives us the number and he's like, hey, just hit me up and, I'll see if I can help you guys out. And I was one of those like, well, what if? And what if he asks me what if he tells me to do something right now? What if he says I got to put up, 25K? The what if syndrome kicked in, right?
And I think
And he helped one of our companies at the time we were consulting for and working with. That company is worth $1.6 billion today. And they went public and we had a nice chunk of shares that we've gotten out of it. Yeah. So when somebody successful that has a path, and you know what I also learned, Michelle, and I'm sure you would agree with me, true, genuine, successful people that have the right core values, they want to help. They don't want to hoard information. That's why we love the stage so much. You think we want the stage to feed our ego? I can guarantee you most people who already have made it, they probably could just chill. They don't have to do anything anymore, but they want to share.
Yeah.
That's why they write the books. You think that the billionaires write more books because they want to make more money? No, because they want to pass on their legacy and their knowledge to somebody else. But yeah, that's fascinating that even the great Michelle Barnes had that human moment where we're like, I don't want to bother him. But it changed everything forever, I would say, didn't it?
Oh, changed everything. And like I went to a 6-day event that he does in Toronto called The Matrix. I mean, I went to a lot of his Science of Getting Rich and Paradigm Shifts and all these trainings. And I wouldn't be who I am today. And there's definitely some people in my life that I look back and like, I would not be who I am today. If it weren't for my mom, being a total badass, and showing me what a work ethic is and how to treat people the way you want to be treated. If it wasn't for this woman, Sandy, who her confidence just was like, okay, I need to be like that. Bob, I mean, there were just, there were so many people that, even though I didn't really have kind of like full on upline mentorship really, because I kind of came in and was like the Tasmanian devil and was just like, and then like kind of past people and, but I was always looking for who are mentors, sideline, upline, downline, all around outside of my business. And I've been really blessed to have some really good people in my life.
Yeah. No, that's phenomenal.
Bob was probably the biggest one for me.
I believe it. The next 2 to 5 years, what do we, let me just, 2025, what are we expecting out of Michelle Barnes?
I'm holding myself accountable, just like I'm having everybody with this pinky promise.
You're about to have everybody in this audience hold you accountable. So make sure you are intentional with what you're about to say.
Right? I know. I've been, with my boys. I mean, my boys are my number one priority. And, I've got, 2 years left with my older one and 5 with my youngest. And I mean, parenting never ends. I see it with my friends. But for them to like both be like in college or doing what they're doing. Right. And so I've always thought it's kind of that, like, I've never been an either or type of person. I've always been like, I can have it all. And you can have it all. You just can't do it all. And I've tried to do it all for decades. And so I'm realizing how much I need a team around me. And I've started to like surround myself with an amazing team that can help me really do the things that I want to do, because I want to be able to, like I always said, I want my own private plane, but not to be like, oh, I have a private jet or a private plane. I wanted it to be able to like fly into a different country or fly into a different city, be able to speak and spend time with these humans and hug on the humans and love on them and teach them and inspire them and impact their lives, and have them leave that event and that seminar 100% just completely changed, and then be back to my kids, and be back home that night, to put them in bed or whatever. And now I don't need to put them in bed obviously anymore, but just, like, these are critical years. I want to be there for them. But I know that with the right people surrounding me, that I really can be one of the top, motivational, transformational leaders and speakers in the world. And I know more and more every day that I have been chosen in a way, and I'm blessed that God has chosen me to be this like vessel to, to be the light, to be the light. And I think the only way that I can show people that, to teach people that they have a light within them as well, is for me to get out there and do what I was put on this planet to do. I know what I was born to do. I know that God put me on this planet to speak and to change people's lives. And so I need to figure out a way to make all those plates spin together so that this year's the year. I really believe it is.
Yeah. We believe it. We believe the top. That's right. I do have to say, I believe it. I already see it. I've seen it since 2015. You have a huge fan in here. You just can tell. Some people have a season, but others, it's just what they're meant to be doing, right? I've seen so many people who spoke and said the right things in the right time for the right audience and then disappeared. But you've been consistent. And as far as figuring out, first of all, you got us on your corner, and that's not a business inquiry. Like, you truly have us in your corner. You know that anything you need, we got you back. Our audience, please make sure that you check on the copy that is along with this episode, making sure that you click on michellebarnes.com, making sure that you go to those social media assets, follow her. She's an amazing, and might I add, funny human being when it comes to those TikTok videos, shorts, shorts and reels. She's awesome. And there's always that one little nugget that you're going to pick up. And of course, a lot of tips on every single area, from personal growth, personal development, business development, and just being overall good in your life, whether it's your health or spirituality or whatever it may be. You certainly have done that for me personally. Before I was a father and before I was what I believe to be a good husband to my wife, you've opened my eyes and impacted me forever. And I mean that not just for the cameras. I told you behind the scene in private, and I'm telling you in front of everybody, you've put a huge, huge impact. You got to put that on one of those testimony squares and put it on your website somewhere, because you definitely have. I usually ask $1 million question to my audience member or guest before we drop. So I got $1 million question for you, and I never prepare anybody for it, and I'm not preparing you for it because it's called $1 million question for a reason.
Okay.
Let's say today your network, your business, your income that you have, poof, gone, doesn't exist. It's now no longer you. You don't know any of the network that you know today. You don't have the connections that you have today, and your money just went poof, and you got to start all over again. Give me the top 1, 2, or 3 things that you would do right away to find yourself right back to where you are within 6 months or less. And it could be just the one thing, or it could be the top 3 things. And I'm going to give you 20 seconds to think about it. All right, take 10 to 20 seconds. There you go. You got it? You ready? Give me those top 3. What you got?
All right. Well, I think I would start off with probably a journal. I would start off with a journal and some prayer, because I really do feel that ask and it's given, right? I feel like we're all divinely led. And if we listen, I'm very intuitive, and I'm really good at listening to that voice, that little voice, that big voice, And so I'd listen to that, and I would start journaling like, okay, what do I want this to look like? And for me, networking has always been, I wouldn't say that I always loved networking, the word, but I love humans and I love meeting people. And I think even if I had none of the connections that I have right now, if I had a pen and a paper and some blue cards with blue ink and, and a phone, I know that if you drop me out of an airplane in Broken Bridge, Iowa, I would figure it out, and over the last 30 years, there have been times that I have lost my entire income multiple times. Companies get shut down, companies go out of business. And I would always just take a deep breath and be like, okay, here we go again, And so, I do think that relationships are everything, and it's not really what you know, it's who you know. And I think that based on the 30 years that I've been an entrepreneur, and even just growing up with the type of mom that I have, no matter what, I would find a way. I'm scrappy AF, and you got to be resilient. You've got to be scrappy, and you got to be consistent in your energy and your efforts and your mindset. And, and I would say being the spin master, I always teach, you got to learn how to spin every negative thought into a positive one, spin every negative feeling into a positive one, because whatever you're feeling is what you're attracting. And so I know that I can attract anything I want in life if I get my mind right and get my heart right.
Love it, love it, love it. One last thing before I let you go. I know it's time to go soon, but we as a production company have never deleted any episode or any content. Like literally everything we've done. And this is our 5th year with the podcast, right? So this is our 5th year. So you can find that stuff from 5 years ago still online.
I want to see it all.
Well, here's the beautiful thing. There's a reason I'm telling you this. Your kids are gonna watch this maybe in about a week or so. And then they're probably going to see it in 5 years from now. They're probably going to see it as long as the internet exists. Let's just fast forward and say it's 10 years from now, and both of your boys are watching this. What do you want them to know?
Well, you're going to make me cry. All right, thanks. Wow. Okay, didn't know that was going to happen. Okay, 10 years from now, I would have a 24-year-old and a 26-year-old, which is crazy. So they would be the age that I became an entrepreneur at 23. So they'd be right around there. They know how much I love them. And so that's obviously what I would want them to know that. And I would want them to know, like every single person that I talk to, that no matter what happens, no matter what happens in their life, it's never, ever, ever what happens to them, that it's always how they respond to what happens. And it's never, no matter how, bad something is, that they're always going to come out of it on the other side. And they have to just trust the process, no matter how bad things can be, or, you're always going to have ups and downs in life. And, there's going to be personal things that happen, or deaths in the family, or, things like that, or businesses issues, business partners that are horrible, whatever, addiction, you name it. I mean, like, I've been through so much in my life. And I think that the biggest thing that I want them to know is that they really can be, do, and have anything they want in life, and not to let anything knock them down, and be resilient and be scrappy, and know that that you can connect the dots looking back, but never forward. And that everything happens for a reason and a purpose, and that God's got them.
All right, fellas, I made your mom cry. Remember that. That's the guy who made your mom cry on camera. Well, look, I appreciate you. I love you to death as a human being. I love what you stand for. I love what you're doing. And I genuinely believe that you are the number one motivational speaker in the world, men or women. You are already there. I'm really, really good at predicting some of these things. And I already see you with, all the awards and, the plaques and the YouTube silver and YouTube gold plaques and all that good, fun stuff. I'm just grateful that you've given me the opportunity and the privilege to share this moment with you. And I'm sure starting with your boys to everybody around you, to the network that you've impacted over the years, I speak on behalf of everybody. We are so thankful and grateful for what you've done for each and every one of us, and you continue to do each and every single day. And thank God you're only 29, because that means we got plenty of you to have in the rest of our lives. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, she goes by the name of Michelle Barnes. Make sure you visit her website. Make sure you connect with her on all the different social media assets. I go by the name of Ali Madawi, a.k.a. your strategic partner. This is the ME Show. Huge shout out to our Chief Production Officer behind the scene, Rich Tomes. Huge shout out to our COO, Maritza Madawi, for always holding it down. Tanya Tanika, our CTO, for making us look as good and pretty as we do. And all of our associates and affiliates all around the world, we just want to say thank you so much. We love you. And until next time, hey, Michelle, do me a favor. Tell them peace out, everybody.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
Meet Michelle Barnes, a beacon of empowerment, leadership, and inspiration. With over 29 years of experience, Michelle has transformed countless lives through her dynamic coaching and mentorship. Through specialized training, empowered coaching, and transformative workshops, Michelle equips you with the tools to conquer your goals. Join her 2025 Goal-Setting Masterclass and turn your dreams into actionable plans. Be part of a supportive community where your growth is celebrated. Ready to transform your life? Visit michellebarnes.com and embark on your journey to success.